Hello everyone, Vincent Briatore here. Hope everyone is doing well. Today I wanted to talk about Alex Jones, who has recently been banned from Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook, all within a 12-hour period actually. So this, obviously he is the host of a show called Infowars. Most of you guys are probably familiar with it. He's good friends, used to be good friends with Joe Rogan actually. So he was a guest a couple of times on the show, and recently they kind of had a little feud. So the timing is very particular for this, this all to happen. All the media outlets are going crazy over this. What is it going to mean? Well, let's just talk about that a little bit. So the main point that most of the publications are quoting is the Sandy Hook denier thing. He denied, well, it was his opinion, right? Opinion. This is what it is. It's free speech. It was his opinion that Sandy Hook was staged. Now, I understand how absurd this may sound, but in the end, you could argue that he plays somewhat of a character. And so some of this is for entertainment value. Some of this is to stimulate thought, right? And he has been right more often than we'd care to admit. So some of these outlandish conspiracy theories have actually had some truth to them. Now, I'm not saying all of them do. Obviously, Sandy Hook, it is not my personal belief that Sandy Hook was staged. I think even if there was, and I don't think the government was involved, but if there was involvement in the government, it would be easier for the government to just have a real episode than stage one. It doesn't really make sense, right? The issue with this is why now, like the Sandy Hook thing, he's been talking about that for a while. There was a lawsuit that has been brought forth by one of the parents actually that says that because of, the show and the things that he says about Sandy Hook, he's been harassed. So those are like his damages. He's had to move multiple times. So he's brought forth this lawsuit. But, this is nothing new. So why now? And why was it a coordinated effort to have him banned off all of these platforms? That's what really disturbs me. Yeah, I know everybody's like, oh, it's just social media, but you have to stop thinking about social media in a traditional sense. These are publishers. This is like the news outlets, right? They actually, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, these, if you put them together, and YouTube especially, you put all of these together, they probably deliver more information and more news than traditional cable companies and news organizations like CNN, CNBC. I'm telling you, it's incredible, especially when you drop it down into a certain age group. So when you're being censored, it's a big deal. You're keeping people from a certain type of information. And I know you say, oh, well, he can still have his own website. You can't completely censor Infowars, but you can make it difficult enough that a lot of people won't seek it out. It's about freedom to me. I don't like the idea of being censored, and I don't like this violation of TOS, of the terms of service or whatever. And it's not very, they're not pointing to one thing specifically. It's just like, the coordinated effort also is what really disturbs me. The question is what's next, right? There wasn't anything particularly new that he said that triggered anybody. They coordinated. They sat at a table and decided they wanted to censor him. And all of the individuals that are high up or that run these companies are very liberal. They're very liberal. You never see, there's hate speech and other things that come from other sides, like the Young Turks, people that now and then they say some crazy stuff and make up a lot of lies, but they're never censored because they go along with the political direction of those that are in power, that are running these these organizations. And so I just find it alarming. Politics aside, the right is being, and conservative way of thinking has been really demonized. I was reading an article not too long ago about how, a lot of people consider being called Republican or conservative is like an insult, and it's creating this mass hysteria of people just hating. There's all kinds of violence and stuff that is being hurled at people, even just wearing the MAGA, like the Make America Great hats and stuff. And I'm not a huge Trump supporter or anything, but I think all this hate is silly, and it almost makes you want to question things like, why does everyone feel so strongly about this? Like, slow down. Let's be logical. and let's have a logical discussion about the individual issues, okay, and talk it through. So I don't know. But anyway, my issue with this whole situation is what's next. You see, if we lose net neutrality, which looks like we will, InfoWars could be blocked, period, right? You wouldn't be even able to access it at all because Comcast can block you from reaching its website. You know, Verizon, all these carriers. So then you really would have a blackout, like in China. In China, you can't type certain words, like are blocked from websites. It gets crazy. And I don't want to see that happen here, okay? And I know it's easy to say, oh, these are private companies, and they can do, but they have a monopoly on media. So they have to tread very carefully. A lot of people can see this. Maybe it's just a liability. Right? Maybe it's just liability. Just like when they blocked cryptocurrency ads. It was kind of a coordinated effort also, right? After BitConnect, they YouTube and Facebook, which Google. When we talk about YouTube, all the times it's Google too. They blocked all cryptocurrency and ICO ads, right? And I think it was because it was a liability because at a certain point, when people start suing people, right? Oh, they defrauded, it was a big scam. Sometimes they'll start moving that lawsuit to encompass the publisher. The publisher, to some extent, has some of the responsibility. Now, they can make you sign all these, terms of service and to take away the liability from them. But at the end of the day, when shit rolls downhill, they'll be added and to these lawsuits, and I think that's really what sprung a lot of these bans. It's just, we don't want to get involved. It's more trouble than it's worth. Now, if it generated more revenue for them, then it would be, the loss that they could possibly incur. I don't know, but it's all this stuff. It adds up, and you have to ask yourself, what's next? What's next? But it worries me. It worries me because a lot of the Democratic and liberal politicians and senators have said that this is only the beginning. They call for more censorship. So many people see no problem with this. I saw this little thing that Michael Rappert, the actor, he has a little podcast where he's always talking trash, and he shares a sentiment that a lot of people have, that it's like, oh, this is just the beginning. Screw him. We just need to censor more people. And recently, like Twitter had been banning and censoring, conservative politicians. It's happening. Okay, so we have to step in at some point and be like, okay, we're not putting up with this. And there's a big backlash with cryptocurrency. And they reversed the ban of cryptocurrency, right? Facebook, I believe, reversed the ban. I'm sure YouTube and Google, it will be forthcoming. So I hope that we could put up a stink about InfoWars and stuff. Like, I understand if someone is saying hate speech and stuff like that. I understand. But it's in the guise. Now everything is becoming hate speech. If you think about a society that's built on lies, the truth is hate speech. I'm telling you, it's worrisome. It's worrisome. What's next? But what can we really do actively? What can we do? I think outrage, comments, maybe sign a petition. That's what I'll do. Like on that change.org, where they always have all those petitions for like liberal causes. Although Ross Ulbricht was on there too. So maybe I'll make one to get InfoWars back on, social media. Telling you, there's big enough backlash to do it. But that's okay. He can set up his own platform. I know that's what people say. Oh, just do your own self-hosted podcast, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, obviously he's doing that already, probably. But the issue is with net neutrality, he could be completely banned. So you got to fight. You can't give any measure of territory, of terrain to someone else. People think, we'll just let that slide. We'll let that slide. The next thing you know, you got to fight for your life. Because the more you give a hand, they take the arm, and then you're done. So anytime, even a small amount of your rights and freedoms are breached, you got to check them. It's like you got to break check these people constantly so that you don't have to fight a huge battle that you may lose. So you fight every day so you don't have to do the big battle. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I don't say this to the other channel, but I'm gonna start doing more videos on this channel. So if you guys have any like ideas on things that you'd like me to comment on, please share and I'll maybe talk about them. Thank you guys for tuning in. Bye, red is so green. I said it anyway.